The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Rishabh. I'm a marketing associate here at Strucsoft Solutions, part of Great Tech Group. Joining me is Pernaz, our software application specialist, who will be taking us through creation, modification, and analysis of trusses in our software MWF. For those of us who are new today, MWF is our flagship solution. It stands for Metal Wood Framer. It's a framing software based in Revit that automates and enhances the creation of walls, floors, ceilings, and trusses in light gauge steel and also in timber. I would also like to take the time to introduce our newest tool for coordination and productivity called FrameLab. It was released just in January this year, and the goal of this solution was to identify and resolve issues around openings during early project phases, so your teams can save time, money, and avoid costly rework later down the road. So I invite you to learn more about this solution after this webinar ends on our website, www.strucsoft.solutions.com. Now we can move on to the webinar. Before we begin, please note that if you had any questions during this webinar or after it ends, you may contact us and we will be more than happy to address your questions for you. Our contact details will be shared in the recording of this webinar, which will be sent out tomorrow via email by the end of the day. And that is it for me for now. I hope you enjoy the webinar and find it informative. Pernaz, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Rishabh. So hello, everyone. In our today's webinar, we are going to try to generate trusses for our floors in MWF floor module, and then we can try to analyze those trusses in MWF truss module. So I'm having two simple floors in my model. I'm going to select one of these floors, and in MWF floor module, we can click on Create. By default, we have two default templates. One of them is for back-to-back trusses, and the other one is for wall trusses. So for the first floor panel, I'm going to select back-to-back trusses, and we can also check out Frame It Now to have the framings all at once, and we can click on Create. It is a bit slower than our truss module because it generates trusses for the whole floor. So right now it's going to generate about 7 to 8 trusses here. And on my other screen, I can see that it is almost done. Yes, and great. So we can select this floor panel and take a look at it in the 3D view. As you can see, we are having these back-to-back trusses as our floor joists. Now we can go back and we can select the other floor panel and we can click on Create. And this time we are going to try a wall truss panel. Again, we can check off the option for Frame It Now and Create. So I just need to rename these trusses. And now we can select the floor panel 2 and we can create a box and look at it in a 3D view. Right. So I just type in BX, and in the 3D view, we can see that we are getting these wall trusses joists for our floors. Now, what if we want to make some modification to these trusses? I'm going to select one of the members of this floor panel. And now in our floor module, we can click on Properties. These steps are almost the same as our simple floor panels. The only difference is that when we go to our member properties and we click on joists, the dialog box that we get is the same dialog box that we have also for our trusses. We have the general tab with all the settings, the webbings, the member sizes, the physical members, designer references, engineering, and the reports. The only difference here is the settings. The first one is for spacing, which means the spacing between the joists, and also the first offset for the joist. So for now, if we want to change the spacing, for example, to 1 foot 6 inches, we can just add a new number here. And the next thing, which is kind of more important, is the truss depth. So if we want to change the height of the heels of these trusses, we need to come here and change the truss depth. So I'm going to change this one to 1 foot and 6 inches. And now we can click on OK and OK. We changed the settings for the joists in our floor panels, but as you might have seen, we have two different tabs. One for the end joists and the other one is for other joists in our floor panel. Now we have changed the height of the heels of our joists. That is why if we take a look at it from the back view, it might take a few seconds because it's updating all the joists in our floor panel. It's almost done. Okay. If we take a look at it from the back view, we can see that the height of our joist has changed. But if we want to have the same truss depth, for our end joists, we need to select them and we can go back to our panel's properties. And this time, instead of joists, we are going to click on end joists, the first option. And here we have the same settings. We don't have the option to change the spacings, but we have the same truss depths. We can have different truss depths for our start joist and our end joist, but if we want to keep the same value here, we can just check off this option for use start for end and change it here for both. And we can click on OK and OK, and it will change for both start and end joists in our floor panel. Now that we have done all these changes, if we want to run the engineering tool for these trusses, or if we want to change any changes, if we want to make any changes to the webbing, we can either go back to properties, or we can just select these trusses and we can switch to our truss module and we can run the engineering. Okay, it is almost done. Great. Now at this point, I'm going to select this truss, and now we can switch to our truss module. When we click on properties, the first dialog box would be our truss designer. From now, I'm going to run a few commands. We will get some error messages and we will see why we are getting those error messages and what we can do about it. So now we have this truss here. I'm going to go to our engineering tab and we can click on analyze. Let's see what is the first error message that we get. As you might know, the analyze would select each member of our truss and it will run analyses with the families that we have on our member families. So right now we got this error message, cannot analyze truss with a single known support. What does this one mean? So when we generate trusses in our truss module, by default, we need to introduce a few references, and one of those references is our supports. But when we generate floor trusses, we don't need to add supports for them. That's why when we are here in TD and we want to run the analysis tool, we need to manually add those supports to our truss. And if we want to add support to our truss, we just need to select the node that we are adding this support to. We just need to double click in that specific node and we can check off the option for have support. One of the supports needs to be rolled and the other support needs to be pinned. So the other support is going to be pinned and okay. Now that we have the supports, we can run analyzes again. Now this is the second error message that we are getting. Error while analyzing line formed between node 3 and 4. Profile 600T 125 2733 KSI not in BEMPOL database. Would you like to stop this error message from appearing again during this analysis? Yes. Why are we getting this error message? So we need to go back to our settings. By default, the option for engineering only is unchecked. When we check off this option here, it is technically filtering out all the families that can be used in our engineering tool. So if I go back to our general tab, and if we uncheck engineering only, and we come back here, the first family on our pick list is 600T125. But if we come here and check this off, you can see that we have less number of families available, and that specific family is gone now. Now we can come here, and in our available catalogs, we can switch to our S trusses. And for our pick list, I'm going to delete all 250S families, and we can apply this to all. So when we are selecting analyze from our engineering tool, it technically selects each member of our truss, and it will run analyzes with the first family that we have here on the list. It doesn't matter if you highlight one family here and click OK, it's not going to select that specific family. What it does is just going to see what you have on top of your list, and it will run analysis. If you want to keep your list here, but you want to have a different family on top of your list, you can just select it and you can send it to the top. So for example, for now, I'm going to select the second family here, and we can select it to the top, and we can apply it to all. So if now we go back to our TD and we run analysis, it's going to calculate each member with 350S 137 3350 KSI. You can click on OK, and now we can try to analyze this truss again. So now it's going to analyze these members with the family that we have added on top of our list, and this is failed. Let's check why it is failed. We are going back to our engineering tab, and this time we can select the diagrams. In diagrams, we are going to, okay, it's on my other screen. We're going to select the CSI. And now I'm going to zoom in. As you can see, the bottom chord looks fine. The issue that we are having is mainly with our top chord. We can either select a stronger family here, or what we can try first, we can try to increase our number of webbings for this panel. So we can go back to settings, and in webbing, we can change the top and bottom maximum spacing for the webbing. Now it's set to 5 feet, but now we can just change them to 2 feet. Okay. You can say clear web and generate web. We are getting more number of webbings, and we can go back and run the analyze tool again. Let's see if this time it's going to. It failed again, so we can go back to our diagram and check if there are any other changes that we can make. And go back to CSI. Okay, increasing the number of webbing didn't work. So the only thing that we can try at this point is to have a stronger family, or we can still change the set of webbing. For example, we can try another web type. We can go back to our webbing, and we can still increase the number of webbings that we have, but we can also come back to the settings here, and this time we can try to run design and see which family is going to be selected for each member. Design, the difference between running design and analyzes is that when we run design, it will select each member and it will go through the list. If the first family fails, it will go through the list, it will select the second family on the list, and it will calculate it there. And it will continue doing this until one family passes for this truss. It passed here. If we want to see which family has been selected, we need to double click on the member. For example, for the top chord, 350S 13743 with 33 KSI has been added. Good. If we do the same thing for the bottom chord, okay, the first family has passed, and we can try it for other members as well. Now that our truss has passed, we can just click on reports and generate reports for our trusses. The first one would be the fabrication report. And we also can check the maximum CSI summary for top chord, bottom chord, and the webbing here. Sorry, this one was the detailed engineering. I'm going to click on fabrication now. So in our fabrication report, we have the families and the bracing and the lengths of each member. In our engineering, we have the summary of our reaction table and the member forces summary. Again, we have the maximum CSI summary. And in detailed engineering, we have the table of all the reactions and load summaries. Now we can go back to this point and we can click on OK. When we click on OK, it will update all the trusses that we have in that specific floor panel. So now these trusses that we have here, they all have a yellow shell around them, which means that these trusses has already been analyzed and now they are locked. If we want to unlock these floor panels or these trusses, we can just select them. And here in settings, we have the option to unlock truss. We can unlock them and then we can go back to our panel's properties. And here we can make any changes that we want again. We can do the same set of changes and modifications to our back-to-back floor truss as well. But yep, these are all the changes that we can do. We can add to our floor trusses. So that was it, and thank you so much for our today's webinar.
All right, thank you, Pernaz, for the demonstration. So we have reached the end of this webinar, although I do see that we have one question from Luis. So Pernaz, would you like to just take a quick look at this and see if we can answer this, or maybe we can note it down and reply later? So the question is there an option for the floors where it changes from the floor joist to floor trusses when there's a clash?
So for now, we don't have that. But in our future builds, we are going to add that option. In situations like that, what we can do, we can just manually edit the webbing for our trusses. So if we have a tech tip on how to manually edit the webbings, but we can also take a quick look at how we can do this. So I just selected one of the trusses. So let me cancel. If we are going to just edit one of these trusses, we need to select it and click on Edit Single. Because if we click on Properties, it will add those changes to all the trusses that we are having here. But if we want to edit just a single truss, we need to select it here and click on Edit Single. And at this point, we need to first add more nodes, because each node presents the connection of members and each line represents the members. We can select the member, we can delete them. And if we want to copy a member, you can just select the node that we have. We can click on member points. We want to copy node 9 on the bottom chord from node 1 to node 2. We can select it here. we are going to copy it with, like, example, 1 foot distance. We are going to copy these horizontally. We can try to copy another one before, so I'm going to add negative here, and it's going to be copied here. We can delete this vertical. We can also delete node 10 and node 9. And now we want to have the same set of nodes on our top chord as well. So I'm going to select node 13 and then the top chord, so it will show up here. I'm going to add 0 as the distance because we are going to copy this node on the top chord with 0 distance horizontally. So we are going to click on horizontal, and we can do the same thing for also node 14. And now if we want to add a member, we can just say left click, right click, and left click, right click. By using the shortcuts that we have here, we just need to select each member. And for example, in this point, we can type in V and V for the other one as well. So now they are both set to verticals. If we want to check them, we can just double click and see, yes, there are vertical webs. If we want to add another webbing, we can again say left click and right click, and it will add the diagonals here too. And in this case, we can just have enough space for our drainage pipes in our trusses.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Luis. And all right, so I would just like to remind everybody that the recording of this presentation will be sent through tomorrow via email, and it will be posted on our social media channels by the end of the day today in Eastern Standard Time. If you had any more questions about this presentation, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details will be provided tomorrow in the email with the recording. And if you would like to set up a one-on-one demonstration with one of our experts, we will be more than happy to set that up as well. And there we go. So it answers your question. Sounds good. So yeah, we will now be ending the webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope you have a great day ahead.